Presented by the all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Warm night here in Toronto. The roof is opened at Rogers Center as the Blue Jays try to finish off a sweep of the Kansas City Royals. Another big crowd is expected here tonight. Royals scuffling right now. Here's the lineup that Ned Yost puts out there tonight. Missing a couple of regulars because of injuries. They do, though, have Eric Hosmer, who's having a terrific year, hitting over 300 on the season and hot lately. And also batting in the 5 spot, playing for the injured Mike Moustakas, is Cheslor Cuthbert, who homered, doubled, and drove in all 3 runs for the Royals 24 hours ago.
They will match up against Marcus Stroman, as Marcus has made 17 starts this year. He's 6-4. His ERA is up over 5 for the first time this year, and he pitched much better in his last start. Received a no decision. That was that 2-1 loss. Remember that in that 19-inning game. And Stroman looked like the Stroman we saw earlier this season. He was painting that fastball and using a good breaking ball. Last one on June the 14th versus Philadelphia. For Marcus, only 1 win over his last 7 starts.
Alex Gordon will lead it off again for the Royals. 7th game in a row that he has been up in the leadoff spot for Kansas City. Missed a month with a wrist injury after that collision that knocked Mike Moustakas out for the balance of the season with a knee injury. So that was a devastating play for Kansas City this year. As Stroman misses up and away with a fastball, ball 1. After Gordon, Whit Merrifield, and then Eric Hosmer. Infielders basically straight away for Gordon, maybe a slight pull, and here's a ground ball right for the second baseman Devin Travis, and a quick first out for Marcus Stroman. Well, when Stroman is on, he's getting a lot of ground balls, and that means a lot of activity on the infield for the Blue Jays. Let's set the defense for you, starting with the outfield. Ezekiel Carrera in left field tonight. Pilar in center. Junior Lake is in right. Michael Saunders is DHing tonight. Donaldson, Tulowitzki, Travis, and Edwin Encarnacion on the infield, and Russell Martin doing the catching.
Devin Travis, making his 33rd start, has not committed an error. He made 2 more double plays last night. He's turned 17 double plays so far, and he's really become a very good defensive player. Tag on him was he was a lot offense, not so much defense. That hasn't been the case since he's come to the Blue Jays.
Swing and a miss at a good hard cutter there at 89 miles an hour, and Stroman is quickly out in front of Whit Merrifield, 0-2. Second base, kind of a position in flux for the Royals at times this year. They let Omar Infante go. Christian Colon played last night. Merrifield tonight. Stroman rubbing up the fresh baseball after that last pitch was in the dirt. 1-2 the count on a Merrifield.
You know, that's what we saw from the last start for Marcus Stroman. A lot of late life on his pitches, and he hit the spots.
Swing and a miss at a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. 2 down.
In that last start versus the Cleveland Indians, everything was down in the strike zone. He got 10 ground ball outs. He also had 6 strikeouts. This time the sinker goes up and over the hands of Merrifield for his first strikeout of the night.
And now maybe the most dangerous hitter the Royals have, certainly with Kendrys Morales not in the lineup tonight. Morales nursing a bit of a sore back. Eric Hosmer, the first baseman, swings and fouls it off. Stroman with a little bit of a delay right there in his delivery on that pitch.
Yeah, he has done that from time to time, but I'm with Pat. I think where he has started in the strike zone tonight is a very positive step for him. He's working down with his fastball and his breaking ball.
10 ground ball outs last time, 7 ground ball outs the start before.
And another ground ball here. Travis again. And a good start for Stroman. 3 up, 3 down. Needed only 8 pitches to get those 3 outs in the first. First at Rogers Center, John Gibbons, and the Toronto Blue Jays have won 4 in a row. They are 8 games over 500 right now as we take a look at the starting lineup for the Blue Jays tonight. Josh Donaldson, unbelievable stretch, hitting .450 over his last 20 games, 44 hits in his last 26 games. And we talked about Troy Tulowitzki not that long ago. Look at the numbers that he has put up since he's come off the disabled list, really adding some length to that lineup. Looking a lot like Colorado Tulowitzki.
Power numbers from Tulowitzki out of that 6th spot for Blue Jays. He's got that batting average up to .239. They will face Ian Kennedy tonight. 17th start of the season for Kennedy. He has a losing record at 6-7. He was signed to a 5-year deal by the Royals last January after spending 2+ years with the San Diego Padres. He's originally a first-round draft pick of the New York Yankees, and that's when the Blue Jays saw him last time back in 2007 when he was a starter with the Yankees. They get him tonight here with the Royals.
Ezequiel Carrera will lead it off again for the Blue Jays. Carrera in left field tonight, as we mentioned. Junior Lake in right. Michael Saunders DHing. Edwin Encarnacion at first. Justin Smoke not in the lineup tonight for the Jays. Carrera hitting .288 on the season and has a leadoff hitter, an on-base percentage of .402 as he tries to bunt his way aboard, but the count is now 0-2.
Carrera's done a terrific job in the leadoff spot, working the count early on, first at bat of the game. We've seen him get 5, 6, 7 pitch at bats to really set the tone for that first inning.
And doing a lot of that right there, trying to drag bunt. He was out here early again today working with Tim Leeper on drag bunting. One more time, and if you're going to be a good bunter, you better practice it.
Now with 2 strikes, Cuthbert, the third baseman, backs up 3 or 4 steps. Curveball from Kennedy misses just outside for ball 1. Carrera had a home run and a double in last night's game.
Kennedy throws a lot of fastballs. It's really going to be interesting to see if that is going to work against this Blue Jays ball club that's swinging the bat so well right now. They are very aggressive. They love to hit the fastball, and Kennedy throws it a lot.
He throws it a lot, and he uses it up in the upper parts of the strike zone a lot.
On the appeal, he didn't go. 2-2.
He's like last night's starter for the Kansas City Royals, Chris Young, who throws a lot of fastballs and throws it up in the strike zone, but he's got a little bit more to his fastball. He's about 94 with that fastball.
And there's a curveball for strike 3 called as Kennedy finally rings him up. So now Josh Donaldson, who, as we mentioned, is hot as anybody. Let's look at his last 10 hits and the location of those hits, and 9 of the 10 in the bottom half of the strike zone.
And it's middle in pretty much for Donaldson, middle in, and he's been crushing it. What I like is all the different colors that we're seeing in those dots. You're seeing every type of pitch. Tells me that he is on everything. He is doing his homework. He is studying pitchers. He's understanding what they're trying to do to him, and when he sees his pitch, he's hitting it and hitting it hard.
Homered in each of his first 2 at-bats last night, numbers 21 and 22 on the season. Up to 60 RBIs now. And I think at this point, just past the midway point of the season, you got to put his name in the MVP conversation. You look at Jose Altuve for the Astros having a great year. David Ortiz, even though he's a DH, certainly will get a ton of consideration with the kind of year that he's having.
Well, baseball, you keep score by the number of runs you scores. Josh Donaldson scores runs and he knocks them in, and he saves runs defensively at third base. The fans have come prepared for rain as Josh has been red hot. But I think the biggest thing about where he's hit the ball is more important than what he's hit, because he stayed in the big part of the diamond. He's not thinking about pulling the ball, and that's a pitcher's nightmare. When you have a power hitter that's not concerned about pulling the ball, that means he can cover so many more pitches.
There's just no holes. Where did he pitch him?
They do have the shift on the infield. Basically straight away, very slight pull on the outfield as the count now goes to 3-1.
I think we'll find out early on now if he's going to challenge him with that fastball. Buck, you were talking about Kennedy likes to use his fastball. Will he throw it here in this situation?
Missed down and away for ball 4. So a base runner for Edwin Encarnacion, the major league leader in RBIs with 77. One of 3 definite all-stars for the Blue Jays: Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Estrada. Although, as folks have probably heard by now, Marco Estrada was placed on the DL today with that back discomfort. So he will not be pitching again. He will not be pitching in the All-Star game, and he will not be pitching again until several days into the second half of the season, if you will. But he is still an all-star, has to earn the right to go and be introduced and mingle and take part in all the activities that come with being an all-star.
Right, certainly had an all-star caliber first half to his season. He was among the leaders in opponents' batting average and ERA. He was consistent in his ability to throw 6 or more innings. Of course, he has a record, the most 6 innings in a row, allowing 5 or fewer hits.
The 0-1. Encarnacion laces the ball into left center, a base hit. Donaldson, a big turn, but then will put the brakes on and head back to second on a hard hit single by Encarnacion.
Blue Jays know all about Alex Gordon in left field. I thought for sure that Josh Donaldson was going to try and go first to third on that long single by Encarnacion, but Alex Gordon might be one of the best left fielders to ever play the game in terms of athleticism and throwing ability. He threw out a Blue Jay the other day. Encarnacion at the plate. Donaldson had thoughts, puts the brakes on, doesn't want to run into an out. Yeah, he's one of the best.
4-time Gold Glover. Now the batter is Michael Saunders, as mentioned, DHing tonight. First and second, 1 out. The Blue Jays threatening here in the bottom of the first. And Michael Saunders is the early leader right now for that last spot on the American League All-Star team. As you can see, hashtag Vote Captain Canada. That takes effect Friday between 10 and 4 Eastern Time. But you can vote for Saunders right now on MLB.com. And he's got some tough competition in Kinsler, Pedroia, a couple of others. But Saunders is the early leader in online balloting for the last spot on the American League All-Star team. And Tabby, we had a chance to talk to him before the game. He's humbled and honored by all
Yes,
this.
he's very honored that he has his name even mentioned amongst the chance to be in the All-Star game. He was talking and referencing all the great players that have played this game and what an honor it would be for him to play in an All-Star game. He even referenced Babe Ruth going all the way back to the first All-Star game.
Well, he's got a shot to get there, and Blue Jays fans from coast to coast can certainly help him out, and obviously they're doing that so far.
Well, he's the only player that has a whole country behind him, so people should get online and vote for Michael Saunders and send him to the All-Star game. There's the address. Vote at BlueJays.com.
George Springer of Houston second in the voting right now. Swing and a miss to strike out Saunders. Throw down, but back is Donaldson. And that's the second out of the inning on the Saunders strikeout.
There is that high fastball that we were talking about right there. He'll like to throw it by, and as a hitter, it looks so tempting. Josh Donaldson bounces off, and Sal Perez, who can really throw, says, I just want to keep you close. Little calling card, throw back to second base.
So Kennedy, who strikes out a lot of batters, about a batter per inning this year, though he doesn't throw tremendously hard. He's 92, 93, a lot of straight four-seam fastballs, but he does get a lot of strikeouts. But on the flip side, when they get to him, they get to him. He's given up 20 home runs this year. That's one of the highest marks in baseball. 16 of them have come on the road. He faces Russell Martin here with 2 on and 2 out in the bottom of the first. And Martin, who struggled so much early and struggled with runners in scoring position so much early, in his last 33 opportunities with runners in scoring position, he's 14 for 33, hitting .424 in those spots. That goes back to the 25th of May.
Brooke Jacoby was talking about him the other day with runners in scoring position. His ability to lock it in when he's got a chance to drive in some runs and use the whole field, especially the middle of the field. That's where his home runs have come, right back through the middle to center field. One
ball, 2 strikes the count. Donaldson off second, Encarnacion the runner at first. And the pitch is a swing and a chopper foul. Blue Jays winners of 4 in a row. They have matched their high water mark of the season. 8 games over 500 right now. And they're not keeping an eye on it right now, but going on right now, the Orioles are in extra innings at Dodger Stadium, tied at 4 in the 11th inning with the Dodgers. So if Baltimore wins, the Blue Jays will be 3 back. If they lose, the Blue Jays will be 2 back. 2-2 the count on Martin. Both the Orioles and Red Sox have been struggling a little bit in recent days, and the Blue Jays have won 4 in a row. They've made up some ground. They've now got the second best run differential in the American League, behind only the Indians.
Well, Russ is having a good at bat. He's really seen a lot of pitches in many different areas of the strike zone, but he's been very patient, and he's forced Kennedy into a full count.
He has seen them all. Everything that he has to offer right there. He has seen it.
And now with a full count, 2 down, the runners will both be on the move. Donaldson from second and Encarnacion from first. The set, there they go, and the pitch is strike 3 called to end the inning. Martin didn't like it. Kennedy records 3 strikeouts in the inning. And the Blue Jays will leave a couple of men on. Had an opportunity, but Kennedy paints the outside corner to end the threat.
Marco Estrada was placed on the DL today, and as disappointed as he is that he won't be able to participate in the All-Star game, he told me today this is for the best. This is something that he realizes is more long-term. He does not want to cause any more damage to his back right now, and pitching in any place, whether it be an All-Star game or here in a regular season game, just is not going to happen. What he is hoping is that the spot that he is leaving will be filled by one of the Blue Jays, and that could very well happen, guys. I spoke with Ned Yost today. He says that right now Aaron Sanchez is on his short list of 4 guys, all of them starters. He also said that Aaron Sanchez is all-star caliber.
All right, Barry, thank you. Salvador Perez grounds out to third, so we don't know who the other 3 starters are that Ned Yost is considering. You can speculate just by looking at the numbers that it could be somebody like Jose Quintana or Masahiro Tanaka. Sanchez certainly with all-star worthy numbers, and you'd like, I don't know how it works, but you'd like to think maybe if Team A, in this case the Blue Jays, loses an all-star because of an injury, and if there's a really good candidate from that team, that maybe you'd lean toward that same team again. But ultimately we are told it is up to Ned Yost, maybe in consultation with Major League Baseball a little bit, but he'll make the decision perhaps as early as tomorrow.
I think he's going to get a lot of advice in that department. It'll come from the Major League office, I'm sure. Just some consideration. Of course, Ned Yost and John Gibbons work together. Gibbons was Ned Yost's bench coach in Kansas City, so they have a good relationship.
Yeah, it was Gibby today who called Ned Yost to tell him that they were going to put Marco Estrada on the disabled list. I don't know if he was then rooting for some of his other pitchers, Jay Happ and Aaron Sanchez. Don't know that, but He let him know that Marco was going to go on the disabled list.
Well, the good thing, All-Star game aside, if there is a good time to put somebody on the disabled list, this is it. You've got the All-Star break coming up, and then on the first road trip after the All-Star break, the Blue Jays have a couple of off days. So Estrada is technically eligible, would be eligible to come back on Monday the 18th, just before the Arizona series, but they won't pitch him at a National League park. He injured himself originally swinging the bat, so they won't want him to pitch in Arizona. So they're hoping he will be ready to go after that when the Blue Jays return home to play Seattle. Another ground ball out for Stroman.
This Marcus Stroman start is brought to you by BioSteel Sports Nutrition, the natural choice for everyday performance. Drink the pink.
Well, Stroman off to a good start. 5 up and 5 down. A strikeout and 4 groundouts so far for the right-hander as Paulo Orlando, the right fielder tonight for the Royals, steps in, hitting .321 on the season. And he hits a ground ball to Travis out at second, and it's another 3 up, 3 down inning for Marcus Stroman. To the bottom of the second at Rogers Center, no score.
To separate our regions tonight and make sure you all are aware. And let's talk to Eastern Canada first. We need you. Michael Saunders, the All-Star Game Man, fifth man, needs you. You can do that by hashtag Vote Captain Canada. That is on Friday. But in the meantime, go to bluejays.com/vote or text A4 to 101010. And I got to tell you guys, that is one heck of a sign.
It is, Barry, and so far so good. Michael Saunders getting a lot of votes, leading the balloting right now for the final spot on the American League All-Star team. Balloting closes on Friday afternoon. He would love to go. Here's Troy Tulowitzki leading off the second for the Blue Jays in a scoreless game, and he'll look at a first pitch strike from Ian Kennedy. Tulo in his last 14 games has 7 home runs and 17 RBIs. And he's got by far the most experience against Kennedy of anybody in the Blue Jay lineup tonight, all those years when both of them were in the National League. Tulowitzki 6 for 31. That's just a 194 average against Kennedy, but 3 of those 6 hits home runs. Here's the 0-2. Goes to the breaking ball. Tulowitzki chases, and that's strikeout number 4 already for Kennedy.
First time he got Blue Jay with a breaking ball. 77% of his strikeouts come off the fastball, so it looked like Tulo was looking for the fastball. Kennedy crossed him up and spins a breaking ball out of the strike zone, gets the check swing. 4 outs, all strikeouts.
Now Kevin Pillar gets his first at bat of the night, hitting .256 on the season, and he'll take a fastball in for a strike. Pilar was out before the game today, before batting practice. In fact, he was out on the base paths working on his leads on some base stealing technique.
Tim Laper, the first base coach, is also the base running coach and the outfield coach. And Kevin Pilar was grumbling to himself when he went out there. He said, I got thrown out yesterday, so now I got to come out and practice my leads. But it was all in good fun. But he knew what he was out there for, just to sharpen up the skills. Leaper threw as a pitcher. He was working off the mound. Tim Leaper was throwing to Sal Butera, and then Kevin would get his leads and breaks at first.
Said he was working on his breaks, and you're right, and his leads at first base. And I asked him about yesterday getting thrown out. He said he just had a bad read. They had some stuff on the pitcher, and they felt like they could steal bases off the pitcher. But you got to trust what your scouting reports say.
Save during the plumbing, cooling, and electrical expert sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
2 down in the inning, and all 5 outs recorded by Ian Kennedy have been strikeouts. Junior Lake is the batter, getting a start in right field tonight. He's 3 for 14 as a Blue Jay, including a home run. And 3 for 4 with a home run in his career against Kennedy. So he doesn't have a lot of experience, but what experience he has against Kennedy has been very positive. So Justin Smoke, if you will, is the odd man out in the lineup tonight. He's on the bench along with Darwin Barney and Josh Toling.
It's been a pretty simple formula so far for Kennedy through the first 7 batters of the night. Blue Jays are #1 in the American League in pitches per plate appearance. So they're taking a good look at Kennedy. He's throwing the first pitch right down the middle on every one of these guys. First pitch fastball and then dealing from there. That one looked like it might have been a strike. Might have caught a break right there.
Two and one, the count on Lake. Swing and a miss at a fastball. You wonder if the hitters, maybe if there doesn't appear to be anything deceptive about his motion, but a lot of swings and misses for a guy who throws so many four-seam fastballs.
I think they're getting a read on him. Early on, they're taking a lot of pitches. Each one of the batters here in this inning have taken a fastball right down the middle.
Tell you what, you can see the intensity and the focus on the bench as everybody was trying to get a feel for Ian Kennedy. Brooke Jacoby, the hitting coach, sitting next to Troy Tulowitzki, Russell Martin. Everybody's focused on Kennedy, trying to see if they can't figure out what's worked for him so far. This is a team that really exchanges information very well from hitter to hitter.
Just inside and a full count. Five strikeouts already for Kennedy through an inning and 2/3. No score here in the bottom of the second. Final game of this series. 3-2 on the way, and a ground ball up the middle to his left ranges Escobar. Throw to first in time, and the inning is over. End of 2 at Rogers Center. No score between the Royals and the Blue Jays.
Power and skill. Watch the 103rd edition of the Tour de France on now until July 24th on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 1. And this gentleman is already wearing the yellow jersey, Dan.
So he's got the early lead. Scoreless here as we go to the third at Rogers Center.
Well, we want to say happy birthday to Diane Chasen Ford, who's a member of the Blue Jays staff here. She's in her 8th season, and she's a terrific Blue Jays fan and a great employee. She's been with Blue Jays a long time, so happy birthday, Diane. And we appreciate all your efforts. She's here every day with a smile on her face.
Yeah, we get to see her every day, so happy birthday, Diane.
Brett Eibner on a foul ball knocks the mask right off of Russell Martin. Does not appear to be shaken up at all.
You see that green right there on his helmet inside there? They have put this foam inside the helmet there. It's a Kevlar type of helmet. And he uses that. He put that green padding in there, and he says, whenever I get hit like this now, I don't feel it at all because of that extra padding that I have in that helmet. He's got 20 different sets of catcher's gear, but only one mask. And that's the one mask that it's like a batter with a gamer. I don't know if you have one mask when you play, but he's got all kind of catcher's gear, but just one mask, and he loves it.
20 different sets of catcher's gear?
Of catcher's gear, absolutely.
I guess the budget's a little bit bigger than when you broke it.
Exactly, yeah. And you got to have the color-coded ones, you know, different shin guards, different unis. But the mask, it pops off that helmet because it doesn't really grab onto that plastic helmet. So it looks much more violent than it is because that mask pops off, because as soon as you hit that mask, that strap comes off and everything goes. I never had a helmet. I never caught with a helmet. I always caught with my baseball cap, and that would stay on your head much better.
He says he doesn't even feel it now when he gets one of those. Good pitch.
Didn't swing. 2-2.
I never really had any problems with concussions. I don't think. I can't remember.
You didn't wear a helmet. You just wore a baseball hat, didn't you?
Here's the 2-2. And now a swing and a miss to get Eibner. One down.
Super Slow-Mo Cam. Brought to you by Rogers 4K TV. Get closer to the action with 4 times the resolution of HD alone.
So Marcus Stroman's off to a great start. 7 up, 7 down. 2 strikeouts, 5 groundouts.
This will be Marcus's last start of the first half before the All-Star break, and the Blue Jays, as Dan mentioned, have that great break. They can really set up the rotation however they choose coming back after the break with those 2 off days around the Arizona games. And you can really line up according to who you're playing and match up exactly how you want it.
You know what I envision? I envision Jay Happ and R.E. Dickey getting the starts in Arizona. Tell you why, because they're going to have to hit, and I think they have the experience as hitters, bunters, being able to swing the bat. So Oakland will be the 3 other guys,
which would be Sanchez, Stroman, and right now Drew Hutchison with Estrada on the DL. The other thing they could do, because of the off day on a Monday before Arizona, they only need 4. They could just use 4 to get through those first 5 games, and then Estrada would be back after that if all goes well with his back. They've got the off day on the Monday before the Arizona series.
Whoever starts on in Oakland on Friday.
First game in Oakland could start the second and final game in Arizona.
You could do it however you want, the way it's set up, and they have a lot of options for sure.
Alcides Escobar pops one up on the right side of the infield, and Devin Travis is there.
I tell you, if you really wanted to take Sanchez's well-being into consideration, Drew Hutchison starts tomorrow. Let's say he pitches a good game and pitches 7 innings. You could skip him and push him back late into the second half, make him skip a start, give him 8, 9, 10 days off, and really kind of give him a blow in the All-Star break. And I know he's not going to think that's a good thing, but man, if he can recharge his batteries just a little bit, and I don't sense he's getting tired, but you have the option to put him anywhere you want to in that rotation.
So you've got the certain guys should or shouldn't hit in National League parks. Maybe the 2 young guys you want to push back a little bit to monitor the innings. But at the same time, as John Gibbons said today, trying to win ball games too. And that young guy who we just showed, Aaron Sanchez, is he's their best pitcher right now. So they got a lot of different considerations.
But at the same time, they're talking about the schedule, the innings, where they are in the matchups, who matches up in ballparks. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. And it's not always like this. You don't always have a chance to make the adjustments.
Line back to the mound and speared by Stroman for the third out. So he's got having good defense behind him, and he's providing some pretty good defense as well. Gerard Dyson hits one back to the mound. Stroman with good reflexes, and he's retired all 9 batters he's faced so far.
Well, fans, what a month July is for baseball here at Rogers Center. The Blue Jays are away for only 5 games the entire month. They have the Tigers, Mariners, Padres, and Orioles all coming to town. It all begins tomorrow with the Detroit Tigers beginning a 4-game series. Justin Verlander on the mound against Drew Hutchison. And after that, guys, the Tigers rotation is still a little bit in flux.
Yeah, they're dealing with some injuries right now, with Jordan Zimmermann and Daniel Norris on the DL in the last several days. Big opportunity for the Blue Jays this week. If they can win this game here tonight, sweep the Royals, and maybe take advantage of a Tigers team that, although they swept Tampa Bay recently, right now with the pitching issues they're having, if they can find a way, say, to take 3 out of 4 there, put a little room between themselves and both of these teams, who also may be wild card contenders when it's all said and done.
The Tigers are celebrating tonight. They're having a big party. They finally beat Cleveland. They beat them 12-2.
So they're what, 1-11 against the Indians this year?
1-11.
Wow. Travis fouls it off, 1-2.
They scored 12 runs on 12 hits. Nick Castellanos drove in 5. So they got off the schneid of the Cleveland Indians. I mean, that's unheard of. 11 in a row.
That's what you're supposed to do if you want to win your division. Pound the guys within your division. Blue Jays have played a lot of games against the American League East already this year, so they're enjoying some time outside the East, and this is a chance to gain some ground.
The Blue Jays have played 42 games within their own division, as Travis is called out on strikes. Nobody else in the division has played more than 35. The Orioles and Red Sox have both played 35.
6 strikeouts first time through the lineup for Ian Kennedy. So let's take a look at the scouting report for the right-hander. He'll use that fastball 64% of the time. He's mixing a changeup at 15 and a curveball slider every now and then at 7%. He's had 94 strikeouts coming into this game, 72 of them with his 4-seam fastball. That's the most in the major leagues, and I think the Blue Jays are seeing that quite often here the first time through. 6 strikeouts already,
including Ezekiel Carrera, who struck out looking at a curveball in his first at bat tonight. Kennedy signed a contract as a free agent with the Royals in the offseason, 5 years and $70 million. So to put that in perspective, I think Marco Estrada 2 years 26 and J Happ 3 years 36.
Yep.
So
12 and 13.
Kennedy as many years as both of them combined and more money per season than either one of them. As Carrera hits a fly ball to left field for out number 2. No disrespect to Kennedy, but just pointing to the salaries are so big. But Estrada and Happ have been big bargains this year by today's standards. Kennedy doesn't have the numbers that either Happ or Estrada have, and he is signed for 2 years longer than Jay Happ is at more money per season.
Kennedy's coming off a season last year where he was 9-15 in 30 starts for San Diego with a .428 earned run average. So sometimes some of these contracts make you scratch your head. What do they see that we're not seeing?
And I think what they saw in him was innings eater. He's made 30 or more starts 6 years in a row, one of only 9 pitchers in baseball to do that. He's durable. And you pitch in Kansas City, it's a big ballpark. Your number's going to look pretty good. Then again, he came from San Diego, which is a really good pitcher's park as well.
But he's pitching for a better team. He's pitching for the world's champions.
Donaldson with a ground ball to short. From the edge of the grass, Escobar with a long throw in time to get him, and the Blue Jays go in order. So no score at the end of 3. Here comes the Ultimate Cleanup Crew, brought to you by Home Hardware's exclusive line of the ultimate hard-hitting and tough-on-grind cleaning products.
Mid-season spectacle live from San Diego. The brightest and best will be there. The Home Run Derby and All-Star Game July 11th and 12th on Sportsnet. And guys, we will not see a Blue Jay in the Home Run Derby this year. Josh Donaldson told us last night he declined. And when Edwin was asked last night through interpreter Josue Pele, he didn't even need to hear the translation. He just looked at the entire group and said, no. So he will not be participating either, unfortunately.
Well, for Edwin, he's in a free agent year, and it's a very, very rigorous contest. It takes a lot out of you. And if you have the advantage of going deep into the contest, you can swing. What, hit 40, 45 home runs?
Gordon grounds out.
How about all the guys over the years that have won that thing or been in it and then they've dropped off? I don't know if it's a bad omen or what.
I would think maybe Will Myers, it's his home ballpark. He's probably a guy you would figure would want to entertain the fans, the home fans, like Todd Frazier did last year when he was still with the Reds at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Whit Merrifield, the batter, he struck out his first time up. Royals have not hit a ball out of the infield yet.
Well, we were curious to see if Marcus Stroman could build on his last start, and so far he has exactly done that. Working down in the zone, getting great life on his fastball and his breaking ball.
He has simplified his delivery. He has taken one part of that delivery out where he raises his hands once again and then lets go of the ball. And the reason he did that right now is he keeps his hands close to the body, is gets the ball out of his glove just a little bit quicker, and it gets his timing just a little bit better when he releases the ball, gets his hand on top of the ball, and everything is working together now.
And a breaking ball grounded out to second. A busy night so far for Travis. 2 down.
He's getting a lot of real weak contact, and that will tell you that he's doing a nice job of changing speeds.
He started last time, you can see from that side view where he just steps over towards first base, and look how everything works together and everything is coming towards home plate. When he was having his trouble, the arm was coming out late and he was spinning off the ball. His arm wasn't catching up with his body, and he was shooting the ball all over the place around that strike zone. Now everything, he's hitting the glove. They're quality pitches on the plate.
He starts Eric Hosmer with a strike. Hosmer grounded out his first time up. Breaking ball, swing and a miss, 0-2.
That's the slider there, 87 miles an hour, and when he's spinning it like that, you don't see any seams, so hitters swing at it as if they think it's a fastball.
Got him. Man, what a start so far for Marcus Stroman. 4 outstanding innings, 4 perfect innings so far. As the Blue Jays come up in the bottom of the 4th with their 3, 4, 5 hitters. Edwin Encarnacion, Michael Saunders, and then Russell Martin.
We now ask you in Central Canada to get out and start voting. Michael Saunders, we want him to be the final man at the All-Star game, but he needs your votes. Send Saunders and hashtag Vote Captain Canada. Go to bluejays.com/vote or text A4 to 101010. And as you can see, the Blue Jays have started a campaign similar to the Raise the Bar they did with Steve Delabar in 2013, and those t-shirts look awesome.
T-shirts everywhere. Every single Blue Jay player, when they came out for stretching into batting practice, was wearing one of those t-shirts today. And so far it's working, but there is work to be done as Encarnacion leads off the bottom of the 4th. Lost the bat on the follow-through on that swing as he fouls it off.
That's always a good sign. Normally when Edwin does that, he loses the bat grip because his hands are so relaxed.
0-2.
What a first half he has put together. 77 RBIs, 22 home runs, 21 doubles. And he's been very patient. He hasn't chased borderline pitches. He'll take his walks, and he makes the pitcher throw him strikes.
You mentioned the 77 RBIs in Blue Jay history. That's not even close to the record for a Blue Jay driving in runs before the All-Star break. If you're wondering what it is, 97 RBIs by Carlos Delgado in 2003.
Popped up for out number 1. Well, here comes Michael Saunders, and to piggyback on what Barry was saying moments ago, you can go to bluejays.com/vote or text A4 to 101010 On Friday, between the hours of 10 and 4 Eastern Time, you can use the hashtag vote Captain Canada to register votes. So there are a number of different ways that you can vote. And Saunders' competition is Ian Kinsler, Dustin Pedroia, Evan Longoria, and George Springer. And Saunders, after the first round of balloting was updated earlier today, Saunders is in the lead.
I asked him today, I said, think about what has happened over the last year, where you were a year ago at this time, injured, and played something like 9 games last year, and now you have a chance to go to the All-Star game. And very sincerely, he said, you know what, I'm just honored to have a chance and a shot at it. It's all about winning. I played on some teams in Seattle that weren't very good. One time we were close, but it's because I'm playing in Toronto on a good team that I'm getting the recognition.
You know, it's funny, MLB.com, which is where the votes are being tabulated, they have an interactive map where you can see, it looks like a political map where you can see who's voting for what player in certain parts of the country. Saunders is getting a lot of votes from the Seattle area right now, which makes sense. He played there for a number of years. They don't have a map of Canada on the website, but they do have a breakdown of the voting. Saunders is getting 98.5% of the vote in Canada. Dustin Pedroia is second at 0.6%. But obviously in the U.S., you know, Springer's dominating Texas and Pedroia's dominating the Northeast. Well, this might help Saunders' case just a little bit.
He will give up his share of home runs, Ian Kennedy, because he likes to throw the fastball. That time he tried to slip it by Michael Saunders, but Michael was just a little bit too quick. Oh, I love how he pulled his hands in and got the barrel right to the baseball. That's a good power stroke. Home run number 16.
Michael's career high is 19. He did that in 2012 with the Mariners in 507 at bats. He came into this game with 287. Now he's got 16 home runs. Having a career year.
Staying healthy. And maybe headed to San Diego for the All-Star game next week. 1-0 Blue Jays, bottom of the 4th. Russell Martin, the batter.
Boy, that's got to feel so good. He's got one of the quicker swings in the American League. Pitchers have been trying to get that fastball by him, but to no avail this year.
21st home run given up by Kennedy, 17th on the road, 16th home run of the season for Saunders. And the Blue Jays have given a very strong Marcus Stroman a lead here, 1-0 in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Sal Perez run right back to the outside pitch. Russell was called out on strike 3 on the outside corner. He thought it was off the plate. And Sal Perez said, you know what? He didn't think that 3-0 pitch was a strike. I'm going to go right back away.
Sent foul off to the right.
He throws a lot of fastballs. I mean, he challenges you. And the Blue Jays are a good fastball hitting team.
And with the way they've been swinging the bats lately, is as much as they were struggling early, they're now 3rd in the American League in runs per game. Ball jams Martin a little bit. Ground ball down to 3rd for the 2nd out. And Troy Tulowitzki, one of the big reasons why they have risen up the ranks to 3rd in the American League in runs scored, behind only the Red Sox and the Orioles. He has been torrid, Tulo, over the last couple of weeks. Since coming off the DL, hitting for average and hitting for power and driving in runs as well.
How about
big
that
numbers.
slugging percentage and the on base plus the slugging percentage, and just looks more relaxed at the plate. He's a little bit more aggressive and doesn't look like he's trying to force anything. Earlier this year, it looked like he was trying to force his swing. Now it's just coming naturally. Up to 40 RBIs.
Last year, Tulowitzki, between Colorado and the Blue Jays, he hit 17 home runs. His home run last night was his 15th of the season.
Blue Jays have 4 players now with 15 or more home runs, and would certainly have 5 if Jose Bautista had not gone on the DL.
You know, that's the fallacy that everybody says about the Blue Jays, that they're just up there swinging from their heels trying to hit home runs. No, there are some good hitters on this team. Guys that take pitches off the plate and can go the other way when they want to. But they have that ability. If you make a mistake, they can turn on it and hit it a long way.
1-2 the count on Tulowitzki. Just 2 hits in the game, an Encarnacion single in the first and a Michael Saunders home run here in the fourth. And there's strike 3 called. Fastball pretty much down the heart of the plate to end the inning. Strikeout number 7 for Kennedy. But the Blue Jays do get a run on the home run by Saunders, lead 1-0. It is time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn from the Samsung broadcast studio.
Day of baseball on the network tomorrow in the afternoon, 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific. It is a central showdown in the National League. St. Louis taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then of course the Blue Jays coming up later in the evening. That's on Sportsnet and Sportsnet Now. Now let's get you back to Dan, Buck, and Pat.
Well, the National League Central is always an interesting division. The Pirates and Cardinals don't like each other at all. They're both trying to chase down the Chicago Cubs, who have had such a great season so far, though they've slipped back to mortal recently. They're 20 games over 500 right now, same as the Giants are. Actually, the best record in baseball heading into play tonight belongs to the Texas Rangers, 53-32. The Rangers with some pitching injuries right now too, have a couple of their key starters on the DL, and they are trailing the Red Sox tonight 5-1 in the second inning.
They just sent out a couple of pitchers, I think, to start rehab assignments, one of them being Yu Darvish. So
Colby Lewis is on the DL. Derek Holland, I believe, also on the DL. Red Sox have now opened up a 7-1 lead on Martin Perez and the Rangers. Meanwhile, the Orioles and the Dodgers are still going. That game is now at the end of 13 innings, tied at 4. Meanwhile, Marcus Stroman has faced 12 batters and retired 12 batters. Missed off the outside corner. The 2-2 and a ground ball to third, right at Donaldson.
checkered flag event is back, celebrating over 50 years of racing heritage in every Honda. Now is a great time to get into the all-new Civic.
A warm night here in Toronto. 26 degrees at game time. Felt hotter than that. Roof is open. It was closed for much of the afternoon to keep it cool here, but was open during batting practice. And for the game tonight, Blue Jays up 1-0 on the home run by Michael Saunders. Cheslor Cuthbert batting now for the Royals, and another ground ball. This one right at Tulowitzki. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. All right, Jamie, thank you. And again, the Blue Jays at the moment 2.5 back of the Orioles, pending the outcome of that game and this game, as Paulo Orlando steps in and takes outside ball 1. The Orioles, man, they can really hit. You wonder if there's a move coming in the next few weeks, though. Do they go out and get a starting pitcher? They need a starting pitcher.
I think there's a whole host of moves coming for a lot of teams in baseball in both leagues.
Here's a liner to center field. Pilar is there. And it's yet another 3-up, 3-down inning. 15 up, 15 down against Stroman through 5 here at Rogers Center.
All right, fans, it's time to make a stop into the prairies and ask you to get online and start voting Michael Saunders as the final man. It's so easy to do. You go to bluejays.com/vote or text A4 to 101010. Guys, I was on the website today, and it is easy to do, and the great thing is you can keep voting over and over and over again, and I've seen a lot of tweets from fans who've told me they've been on the computer for hours doing nothing but vote for Michael Saunders.
Well, you have to figure the combination of Saunders being a Blue Jay and being Canadian is a lot. He's got a lot going for him in this country. You got to figure that Canadian Blue Jay fans from coast to coast will be getting on their phones or iPads or laptops and trying to help Michael out.
Well, the Blue Jays have so many fans from coast to coast. If every fan just got online and voted a couple of times, that should be enough to get him to the All-Star game.
Brandon Belt is leading the National League voting right now. Belt of the San Francisco Giants. He's up against Starling Marte, Trevor Story, Jake Lamb, and Ryan Braun. Again, these are not up to the moment results provided by Major League Baseball. The first balloting out a couple of hours ago. There's another strikeout. Pilar called out on strikes, and that is 8 for Kennedy.
That's another one taken. Pilar thought that ball was low.
5 of the 8 strikeouts have been called third strikes tonight. As always, a lot of Canadian flags and you've seen some Saunders t-shirts. Send Saunders t-shirts all over the ballpark tonight. Junior Lake lines the ball to left center field. Out of the box in a hurry. Thinking 2. Dyson's throw not in time.
That is a hustle double right there from Junior Lake. They were playing him into right center field, and Dyson's got outstanding speed, but he just couldn't get there quick enough to make a throw. He's got 7 outfield assists, so guys have been running on him. But with the speed of Lake and where he caught the ball, he just couldn't plant his foot and get enough on that throw, so that's a hustle double.
Third hit of the ball game for the Blue Jays, and that'll bring up Devon Travis. Travis called out on strikes his first time up. Just down and away for ball 1. The only run of the game on the Saunders home run last inning. The Blue Jays trying to add on here in the bottom of the 5th, looking to sweep the Royals.
This is where, if you're the runner, Junior Lake at second base, you've got to know where those outfielders are. You have to anticipate a base hit off the bat of Travis. Looks like it's going to be a low-scoring game, so you got to get a good break at second base. Every one of the outfielders for the Royals can throw. They're accurate and they get rid of the ball quickly.
Alex Gordon in left field. Since he's moved to the outfield in 2010, he has more outfield assists than anybody in the American League. He got 72 outfield assists, and it's a pretty impressive list of players that have joined him. He's got 1 more than Gerardo Parra. Adam Jones has 69, and then Jose Bautista and Jay Bruce tied with 64.
People aren't running on him anymore. They tried the other night, and he got his 4th outfield assist, throwing out Encarnacion at the plate, but people don't run on him anymore. They know how good he is.
Well, he was really deep, and I didn't think he had a chance to throw out Encarnacion, but he threw a 1-hop strike to the catcher. Perez made a good tag.
No tail on that throw.
Yeah.
It was true.
Well, he's a third baseman, and he's moved to the outfield, and you can see the accuracy and the strength of his arms since he's moved to the outfield.
And another strikeout. Foul tip held by Perez, and that's number 9.
This Blue Jays Rogers 4K broadcast is powered by the Samsung 4K SUHD TV.
Bottom of the 5th at Rogers Center. The Blue Jays leading the Royals 1-0. Junior Lake is the runner at second. 2 down in the inning now, and the batter is Ezequiel Carrera, 0 for 2. Ian Kennedy continues to be in the strike zone and continues to get a lot of swings and misses from Blue Jay hitters. Came in with some rather pedestrian numbers, 6 and 7 with a 4.04 ERA and having allowed 20 home runs, and he gave up number 21 tonight. But he has been extremely good in this game. Bounces in the curveball.
He had a big strikeout game 2 starts ago for Kansas City. 7 innings against Houston, and had 11 punch outs in that game. Houston's a team that strikes out a lot.
Kennedy's best year was with Arizona, 2011. He led the National League, or tied for the National League wins, with 21. He went 21-4 with a 2.88 ERA in 2011. Won 15 the next year.
And that's a very difficult pitcher's ballpark in Arizona. The ball flies there, and to win 21 games and lose 4, that's pretty impressive.
Russell Martin, Marcus Stroman calmly waiting for their next opportunity to head back out on the field, hoping the Blue Jays can add to this 1-run lead before they do. Kennedy, originally a first-round pick of the Yankees back in 2006. And was part of that big 3-way trade between the Diamondbacks, Tigers, and Yankees. Curtis Granderson was in the deal. Max Scherzer was in the deal. And Kennedy wound up going from New York to Arizona.
Yeah, there was quite a few good players in that trade. Austin Jackson was involved in that trade. Phil Koch at the time, a left-handed reliever. A lot of bodies changed locations, and it worked out for most of the teams. Yankees got Granderson in that short right field situation in New York. That worked out very well.
Did. 3-1 and a ground ball, base hit into center field. Lake around third on his way home. The throw comes into second, and it's 2-0 Blue Jays.
Ezequiel Carrera is doing a heck of a job for the Blue Jays since they put him in that leadoff spot with the injury to Jose Bautista. He's come up with some clutch hits. He's made some plays defensively. This time he's going to pick up his teammate, Junior Lake, with this solid single right back through the middle. A couple of inches either way, and this ball hits Kennedy and probably stays in the infield, but it goes right between his legs out into center field, and the Blue Jays pick up another run. That was a huge hit.
Here's Josh Donaldson, has walked and grounded out. Came into the game hitting .450 in his last 20 games. Got a huge hole on the right side of the infield with the Royals playing the shift on him, and Hosmer, the first baseman, holding on Carrera. So there's nobody on the right side of the infield at all.
And the Royals will probably just say, okay, go ahead and hit a ground ball to right field. Josh isn't thinking that. He's thinking about driving in that run, something that he has done. You mentioned he's hit .450 over his last 10 games. Those are historic type of numbers.
During those 20 games, he has 6 doubles, 2 triples, 8 home runs, and 23 RBIs. It's quite a stretch of 20 ball games.
Good pitch there by Kennedy, and it's 2-1. He's had a hit in 24 of his last 26 games. He's had 20 extra base hits in his last 26 games. As we mentioned, he's forcing himself right into the MVP conversation this year. High fly ball to center, deep but playable, and the inning is over. The Blue Jays, though, add a run on the RBI single by Carrera. Now lead 2-0 at the end of 5. Marcus Stroman, untouchable so far tonight, heading back out to the mound for the 6th.
Great night to be in those big comfy green chairs provided by TD Comfort Zone, and we welcome guests who have received a stadium upgrade. Meanwhile, over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse, we welcome fans of Jays Care Young Professionals Committee.
To the 6th inning in front of a nice midweek crowd here at Rogers Center with the roof peeled back. The Blue Jays up 2-0 on the Royals, trying to sweep the series. Marcus Stroman will face the 7, 8, 9 hitters, Eibner, Escobar, and Dyson. Pitch way inside of the belt for ball 1.
One of the few pitches we have seen from Stroman tonight that got away from him. Got underneath that pitch and missed badly up and in. See if he can make an adjustment on the next pitch.
Just off the outside corner with a slider. Stroman entering this inning having thrown only 44 pitches through 5 innings. (2-0) foul off 2-1. Again, got a piece of Martin, but again, he's all right.
Late break. That sinker is in a good spot. It's down. 17 ground ball outs over his last 2 starts. The Kansas City Royals have got 1 ball out the infield so far through 5 innings.
Yep. It was the last out of the 5th inning. A fly ball to center field off the bat of Orlando. Hit rather sharply, but Pilar was in the right spot in deep right center.
Wow.
Martin turning just a bit to home plate umpire Chris Guccione to ask about the location of that pitch.
How do you lay off of that one?
Yeah, that was a good breaking ball, but he just checked his swing.
Full count.
Look at all those pitches at the bottom of the zone, and that's exactly what he did in his last start. He worked down in the zone with his fastball and his breaking ball, and he's doing it again tonight. Consistency, that's what you're looking for.
And ball 4, the first base runner of the night for the Royals. Let's check in with Jamie. So if that holds up, the Orioles would move 3 games ahead of the Blue Jays in the American League East. Meanwhile, here the Blue Jays up 2-0 in the 6th. Stroman working from the stretch for the first time tonight, as Alcides Escobar steps in and takes ball 1.
It's not much different now from his windup the stretch, where he's side saddle on the pitching rubber. Now all he has to do is just bring his hands set right at the belt and go.
And there's the first hit of the night for the Royals. A liner into the alley in left center that will get all the way to the fence. Eibner around third will come in to score. Escobar on his way to third and in there with a triple. And Stroman backing up the play with a good save to prevent that ball from potentially going out of play, which would have allowed the runner to score.
Yeah, even if it gets by Marcus, it's going to bounce off the fence in front of the Blue Jays dugout. Eibner scores all the way from first base. Escobar ends up at third, but this ball was drilled over the shortstop and it goes all the way to the wall in center. The Blue Jays get Pilar, and you can see Eibner is easily around third, and Stroman now moves in position to back up the play. And remember, he's a natural middle infielder, so he has great athleticism, and he saves it from going up against that screen, and that would have been another run.
So all of a sudden it's a brand new ball game here after Stroman was perfect through 5, a walk and a triple here to open the 6th. It's a 1-run game, and the Blue Jays have brought the infield in for the most part. Tulowitzki's not quite all the way in at short, but they are still thinking of trying to cut down Escobar at the plate if they can. Dyson lined back to the mound his first time up, the count 1-1. Escobar, such a thorn in the Blue Jays side last October. Triples in the first run of the night for the Royals. And here's the 1-1 to Dyson. Grounded down to first. Good play by Encarnacion, recording the out and freezing the runner 1 down.
The all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
So it's a 1-run lead for the Blue Jays here in the 6th inning. Alex Gordon is up. He's grounded out twice, both times to second. Devin Travis creeping in at second as Gordon hits a broken bat roller towards Travis. Again, they'll look the runner back and record the out. 2 down.
You know, they had that runner at third base. That's the tying run. I thought they'd run the contact play right there. Where they are in the lineup, you got a youngster at Merrifield coming up, but they don't run the contact play as Escobar playing it through the infield is stopped at third base. He wasn't getting a very big lead at third base.
Now, they were going to make that ball go through, and Mike Gersell, the third base coach, talking with Escobar, he didn't have an aggressive lead at all, which suggested they wanted that ball to go through the infield.
So with 2 down, here's Whit Merrifield.
But I'm with you. I think they would have been better off to play contact in that situation with Merrifield, a younger, less experienced hitter than Alex Gordon.
Yeah, the infield was in, and he would have scored, I think, if he had a bigger break, a bigger lead and a better break. That's a tough play for an infielder.
Tried to check the swing, but he couldn't. 0-2. So Stroman's given up his first base runner, then his first hit, then his first run. But all things considered, if he can strand Escobar at third after he was there with nobody out, not all bad here this inning. Got him. The most emotion we've seen from Stroman so far tonight. A big strikeout of Merrifield to end the inning. Strikeout number 4 on the night for Marcus Stroman. And to the bottom of the 6th at Rogers Center, the Blue Jays leading the Royals 2-1.
Unrated travel rewards card in Canada, the WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard. Visit rbc.com/WestJet to apply today. And a reminder, today's Blue Jays game is available with live described video for our blind and low vision audience. AMI TV Rogers Channel 888 allows you to enjoy the game with added accessible feature. Back to Dan, Buck, and Pat.
Barry, thank you. To the bottom of the 6th, the Blue Jays up 2-1 on the Royals as Edwin Encarnacion leads it off against Ian Kennedy. Encarnacion a base hit and a pop-up tonight. Kennedy has struck out 9 batters through 5 innings. Change-up in there for a strike. Haven't seen a lot of that pitch tonight. Season high in strikeouts for Kennedy, 11. 2 starts ago against Houston. Bird's eye view here at the Rogers Center with the roof open tonight. Right on the outside edge, and it's 1-2. And they're starting to close it right now, so maybe some weather coming in. Remember the first time you saw this happen, Buck?
Oh, yeah. Pretty special.
Yeah.
Everybody was in awe. And I remember one of the first times they tried to open it, they couldn't get it all the way closed, and it rained right across home plate.
Yep. Remember George Bell looking up at the roof during the game? And
yeah. What a marvel. And it's still very, very interesting and exciting for first timers to see it.
Swing and a miss. Strikeout number 10 for Kennedy.
Boy, his fastball has been explosive tonight, and the Blue Jays haven't been able to pick it up. He has struck out everybody but Josh Donaldson and Junior Lake tonight. He uses that fastball. It looks like a 2-seamer, like it's got some movement up, but that's a 4-seamer.
His career high in strikeouts is 12. He's done it 5 separate times. Here's Michael Saunders. He struck out Saunders in the first, but Saunders homered off him in the fourth. Not the full shift on Saunders. Escobar, the shortstop, is up the middle, but still slightly on the shortstop side of the bag. You can see Merrifield, the second baseman, plays Saunders to pull, and he's well out onto the outfield turf. Outfielder's fairly deep and straight away. Change up low, ball 2. And now with the count in Saunders' favor, 2-0, Escobar goes over to the other side of the bag. Now they've got the full shift on as it misses low, ball 3.
He is thinking extra base hit right here. There's the defense that you were talking about. 42 extra base hits for Michael Saunders this year after that home run.
Takes a strike, 3-1. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Blue Jays. 1 run, 1 hit for the Royals as the Blue Jays bat here in the bottom of the 6th. High fly ball, center field. It is deep, but not quite deep enough. Two down in the inning as Saunders came that close to his second home run of the ball game. So now the batter will be Russell Martin. Martin is struck out and grounded out. And he takes high, ball 1. Pitch count for Kennedy is significantly higher than the pitch count for Stroman. Kennedy's now thrown 96 pitches through 5 2/3.
Blue Jays really made him work in that first inning. It took him 23 pitches to get through that first inning. A couple of base runners, and he struck out the side.
Boy, his fastball really stays on plane. It looks like it's going to sink, but it just carries right on through the strike zone, and I think that has been a problem for the Blue Jay hitters tonight.
And as we say that, as he nears 100 pitches, now the bullpen just got going. Right-hander Luke Hochevar is up for the Royals. Still a very good bullpen, even with Wade Davis on the DL right now with a forearm strain. Ned Yost still has a lot of very solid options down there.
They have a way of shortening games, don't they? Last year they had Holland before he got hurt, Davis, Herrera, Hochevar. This year they got Soria. A lot of hard throwers in that bullpen.
The bullpen has been good. Their concern has been their starting pitchers, and they haven't been able to have that consistency. This is still a very good bullpen. Right now they're short their closer, and Wade Davis, who's on the DL. But Soria has closed in the past. Escobar has the stuff to close. There's no question about that.
Herrera will probably be the closer right now.
3-2, and Martin slices it down the right field line. Orlando races over and makes a good running catch, and that's all for the Blue Jays in the 6th. With the roof closing, end of 6, Blue Jays lead the Royals 2-1.
Central, weeknights at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. Ivanka Osmak and Ken Reed will give you a fresh take on the night in sports. They'll have you covered each and every weeknight from 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. We head down to the top of the 7th inning. Let's get you back to Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, and Pat Tabler.
And Barry, it's a close ball game. A pitcher's duel. Both Marcus Stroman and Ian Kennedy doing a great job. So you guys did this. You're veteran edge walkers. What do you think of when you look back, when you look at this right now?
Why in the world did I ever go up there in the first place? I still get weak knees just looking at it.
Aren't you glad you did it, though?
Yes, very glad I did.
Glad that you said you did it. You're glad that it's over.
It's something I don't have to look forward to doing again. But it was, yeah, it was a great experience. We were up there on a nice day. You could see forever.
Yeah.
I think I saw New Orleans when I was up there.
Tell you, walking around up there is no problem. It was the leaning out over the edge like they're doing right now.
No, walking around was a problem. I was the leader, too. I went out first.
Really?
Yeah. Go ahead. You go first. If we lose you, it's not a big deal.
Half an hour you're out there?
Yeah, it takes you 30 minutes to go around.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a base hit past to diving Travis into right field. Eric Hosmer is aboard to lead off the 7th for Kansas City.
Hosmer's having a great year. He's on pace for career highs in home runs, RBIs, and batting average. Starts the 7th with a hit. Oh, where did you find that picture? That's Buck on the left. Look at it. Looks like we're like, well, it felt like we were leaning way out over there. Look at that. We're just standing there.
Yeah, you think well, boy, I'm really inclined into that harness. No, not at all. We're standing straight up and just shooting your butt out.
Perez with a ground ball to third. Donaldson, Travis, Encarnacion, double play.
You know, I asked Devin Travis today, I said, who taught you to turn the double play so quickly? He said, you know what, I've been studying how to play second base, and it's just been a culmination of watching a lot of second basemen, how they turn the double play. He said when he was young, his dad had this thing called the pad, where it was a glove that was flat, and he had to learn to catch the ball with a flat surface, and that's where he learned to turn the double play so quickly. He's got quick hands. He got a great feed from Donaldson. The Blue Jays come up with a big double play.
Here's Cuthbert.
That's the 18th double play Devin Travis has turned since his return to the ball club. This is his 33rd start at second.
13 outs on the ground tonight for Stroman. Meanwhile, they've gone final in Los Angeles. The Orioles have defeated the Dodgers 6-4 in 14 innings. So at the moment, the Blue Jays are 3 back of Baltimore. Red Sox are up big 9-1 on Texas. Got it. The bat goes flying down the third baseline. The inning is over. And Marcus Stroman continues to have an outstanding outing here for the Blue Jays.
Well, this is the game to go. Friday, July 22nd. Friday Fan Festival presented by our friends at Bacardi. Pre-game performance by Jess Moskaloop. The patio will open at 4:30, and then it's some baseball. Seattle Mariners, Toronto Blue Jays. You can go to bluejays.com for tickets. Dan, it's always a great event when we have live music down here at the ballpark.
Sounds terrific, Barry. Thank you. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. We go to the bottom of the 7th now. Marcus Stroman outstanding. 7 great innings tonight. A 2-1 Blue Jays lead and a new pitcher for Kansas City.
Luke Hochevar was a 1-1 first-round pick, first pick in that draft. 34 games this year. He's got 35 strikeouts in just 32 innings. We saw him one time already in this series. Big fastball, good overhand breaking ball. His transition into the bullpen has really worked. He was a former starter, now coming out of that bullpen.
We'll face Troy Tulowitzki, Kevin Pillar, and Junior Lake. Tulowitzki struck out in both at-bats against Kennedy, who winds up going 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, including the home run to Michael Saunders. Kennedy striking out 10 in his 6 innings. Blue Jays with their runs in the 4th and the 5th. The Royals with their single run in the 6th inning. The Blue Jays now batting at the top of the 7th. As the roof continues to close here at Rogers Center, there's a big curveball that misses just off the outside edge.
Hochevar pitched in the game Monday night and came in and inherited a bases loaded situation. He walked Evan Travis and then gave up a 2-run single to Darwin Barney and a 2-run single to Josh Donaldson. That was their 5-run 7th inning. The Blue Jays busted the game wide open on Monday night against Hochevar.
That was almost an impossible situation for him, but if anybody could have gotten out of it, it was Hochevar. Before that inning, he had stranded every runner but one. 23 for 24 when he came in that game. That was almost impossible. Bases loaded, nobody out. Blue Jays got to him. That was the big inning they were looking for.
Well, here's something you don't see every day, although the roof is continuing to close. It's raining inside Rogers Center right now. Probably a few more minutes until it closes. Started closing last half inning, but they couldn't get it shut before the rain came down.
Where's Josh Donaldson? Huh?
2-2 to Tulowitzki. Breaking ball and a swing and a miss for out number 1.
Save during the plumbing, cooling, and electrical expert sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
A lot of activity on the concourse. A lot of people trying to cover up, using those Michael Saunders t-shirts to cover up with the rain falling on them right now.
How about that? We just talked about rain early on in 1989, one of the first times they closed the roof.
Base hit into left field for Pillar. Announced attendance tonight, 39,971. Another big crowd as the Blue Jays continue to lead the American League in attendance on the season, averaging better than 38,000 a game, on pace to draw over 3 million fans this year.
That's another reason why the Blue Jays should get behind Michael Saunders and get on that site and vote for Michael Saunders. Send him to the All-Star game. We have the fan base to do just that.
The batter is Junior Lake, 1 for 2, doubled and scored his last time up. And a big cut, and he fouls it back.
The Blue Jays have missed a lot of hit and run signs lately. They have put the hit and run on a few times, and whether it's the batter or the runner, they have missed communication. So they got a little refresher in those signs because they've had some opportunities to play hit and run, and either the base runner would miss the sign or the batter would miss the sign.
This is a good time for Pillar to work on what he was doing today, getting a good aggressive lead at first base, working on your breaks.
Blue Jays tried Sal Perez a couple of times last night. It didn't work out well. Throwing out almost 50% of opposing base stealers this year. Pillar 7 for 11 on the season. latest on Jose Bautista, by the way, as Lake gets a start in right field tonight. He is out of the booth, but there's no definitive timetable for his return. Obviously, it will be after the All-Star break at this point.
I spoke to George Poulos, the head trainer, about Jose today, and he said he's just now starting to play catch. And they're hopeful that this week at some point he'll start hitting off a tee. But he said the last thing that's going to be tested will be his running. Obviously, when you're dealing with a foot issue on his big toe, you're going to wait as long as possible before you test that out. But Jose has been working on his conditioning. He's now starting to throw again, and hopefully this week at some point he'll start hitting off a tee.
Baby steps, right?
But it's really fortunate, and Jose's been recovering very well, but it's fortunate it's his left toe and not his right toe. He's a right-handed thrower and a right-handed hitter. Most of the pressure would be on that right foot as he loads up on that back leg to hit, and he also pushes off with his right foot to throw.
Again, the 0-2. Curveball bounced foul. And even in his absence, the Blue Jays are scoring more runs right now than they have. They have managed to thrive in his absence. You can imagine if he comes back and if everybody else keeps going, what the offense will be like. But the Blue Jays have been the best offensive team in baseball, and it's not even close over the last 3 weeks.
Run differential, and I don't think they're second in the American League in run differential.
They'd be first if Cleveland hadn't worn out the Tigers.
Swing and a miss. Throw down to first. Back safely is Pilar. Lake strikes out for out number 2.
Perez is upset because if he throws that ball on the inside of first base, Pilar's out. Because this is a perfect pitch to throw. But watch where Hosmer has to reach back over and make the tag. Had that been on the inside of first base, they had a chance of picking off Pilar. That's why Perez was upset.
So 2 down, and here's Devin Travis, a strikeout in the 3rd inning and struck out again in the 5th. Looking in the 3rd, swinging in the 5th. 12 strikeouts tonight for Blue Jays hitters, but they do have a slender 2-1 lead here as they bat in the bottom of the 7th.
Devin Travis, like so many of his teammates, really swinging the bat well recently. Over his last 19 games coming into this game, batting .359 with 5 doubles and 4 home runs.
So I'd love to see Pilar get into scoring position somehow. Move him up.
Lays off the high fastball, the ball and strike.
It'll take an extra base hit to score him from first base, where if he was at second base, a single would score him, and Travis is just the guy to do it. Pilar's doing an interesting thing over there. He's keeping his feet moving as he takes his lead on Hochevar.
One and 2 now on Travis with 2 down in the inning. Hochevar sneaks a peek at Pilar over his left shoulder. Pilar leaning a little bit, and time was called. Time was called. Crowd wants a ball.
Now Hochevar sensed that Pilar was getting antsy over at first, and he just held the ball and held it to the point where Travis asked for time. Pilar just making enough movement towards second to get Hochevar's attention.
Hochevar missed the 2014 season recovering from Tommy John surgery when the Royals got all the way to Game 7 of the World Series, and as a guy who had been in the organization for so long, they were especially happy for him to come back healthy and to be effective last year when they took it one step further and won the whole thing. Out of play.
Hochevar is interesting. Out of high school, he was drafted by the Dodgers in the 39th round. Then he went to the University of Tennessee. The Dodgers took him again in the first round with the 40th pick in 2005 out of the University of Tennessee. But he didn't want to sign with the Dodgers. He went back in the draft, pitched his senior year, and then Kansas City had the first overall pick in 2006. And they took Hochevar, and it's been a good situation for both the ball club and Hochevar.
It's a good transition for him into the bullpen. Become a bridge, a nice bridge to the back end. Yikes.
Strike three called with a breaking ball, and the inning is over. A base hit, but nothing more. End of 7, still 2-1 Blue Jays.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by Honda. The checkered flag event is back, celebrating over 50 years of racing heritage in every Honda.
To the 8th inning here at Rogers Center in front of a crowd of almost 40,000. The pizza being eaten, no doubt about that. Tabby hasn't eaten in about half an hour. He must be hungry by now.
I could do that.
Yeah, you could do that.
Send one of those bad boys up here.
Meanwhile, Marcus Stroman back to work for the 8th inning. How about this? He's thrown only 66 pitches through 7 innings of 1-run, 2-hit ball. Paulo Orlando fouls back the first offering here in the 8th.
That's the old Jack Morris philosophy. How do you win in the American League? You stay out there longer than the other starter. You stay out there, you give your offense a chance to add to your lead, and Marcus has been very efficient and very effective.
How about his pitches tonight? The quality of his pitches.
Second game in a row now, and you know what? To his credit, he worked hard. There were a lot of people calling for his removal out of the rotation, sending him back to AAA. This is his 42nd major league start, and it's all about adjustments. And he's made a positive, dramatic adjustment. And you and I saw him time and time again in the clubhouses on the road, looking at video, watching things with Pete Walker and Dane Johnson, trying to figure out what was causing his problems. And this delivery and this hand position have really been effective for him.
Yeah, he's putting the time in. I contend that he was just learning about himself and figuring out who he was. He was coming out of his delivery. Everything was off the plate. He went back to the drawing board, and to his credit, he's put the time in. But you're right. Everybody was, hey, send him down to the minor leagues. You can't get big league hitters out. Are you kidding me?
Well, he never lost his confidence, obviously, and he just went to work. And that's what this game is all about. You've got to constantly be aware of making adjustments.
Fouled off by Orlando to stay alive.
I think one thing that caused him some problems early this season was he had too many pitches. He was trying to do too much, and because he's such a good athlete, he was capable of doing it. But at the same time, now he's mastered 3 pitches, and he's pitching very effectively.
Shakes off Martin, has the one he wants. Breaking ball grounded to short. Here's Tulowitzki. Got it. Time now for the schedule ahead, brought to you by WestJet. After this game tonight, the Blue Jays will close out the so-called first half of the season by hosting the Tigers for 4 games. Then it's the All-Star break, and then the Blue Jays hit the road after the break. 3 in Oakland and then 2 in Arizona before coming back for another long homestand. They are actually home almost the entire month of July. Drew Hutchison will start tomorrow night's game against the Tigers. Justin Verlander will be on the mound for Detroit. If you weren't with us earlier, Marco Estrada's been placed on the DL. They are hoping that 15 days can get that back settled down and that he can come back maybe for the beginning of that homestand we were talking about against Seattle on the 22nd of the month. So unfortunately for Marco, he won't be able to pitch in the All-Star game, but he is still an All-Star and can enjoy all the rest of the festivities. So Hutchison, who has had a good year at AAA Buffalo, will make his second start of the season for the Blue Jays. 1-1 the count on Brett Eibner as he now drills the ball left field. This ball is well hit and it is gone into the Blue Jays bullpen, and that will tie the game.
But everything has been down. He's been getting his share of ground ball outs. But this is the big leagues, and if you make a mistake, it's going to get hit hard. Eibner not really known as a power hitter. He's DHing tonight because Kendrys Morales is dealing with a bad back, and he's acting like Morales, drilling that ball, second home run of the season, into the bullpen, and we're all tied.
Breaking ball for a strike to Escobar. Second home run of the season for Eibner. His first one came on Justin Verlander. And it's all tied at 2 here in the 8th inning.
Well, I didn't see that one coming. There's one home run.
The 11th home run that Marcus has surrendered this season, and like I said, he has been nearly perfect tonight. Royals didn't have a base runner until the leadoff walk in the 6th, and that was Eibner. He threw him a breaking ball on a 3-2 pitch, and that's how that inning started. And then Escobar hit a triple to center field. Eibner scored both of these runs tonight.
That looked like a breaking ball right there. Just spun up. Didn't have the spots where he's been dialing into all night, like right there.
Ground ball right off the end of the bat. Roll around to second, and Travis retires Escobar for out number 2. Still just 79 pitches thrown. No sign of any activity in the Blue Jays bullpen. Stroman has been in command almost the entire night. An RBI triple by Escobar scored Eibner, who had walked in the 6th, the home run here in the 8th. And now he faces the number 9 hitter, the speedy center fielder Jarrod Dyson, who was 0 for 2 tonight, hitting .253 on the season.
His first time up, he hit that line drive right back at Marcus Stroman. Marcus caught it for the final out of that 3rd inning. It was like saving a double in my mind. That ball looked like it was heading to center field. Some action in the bullpen. That's Herrera starting to throw for Kansas City. That ball looked like it was headed to center field, and with his great speed, he was probably going to attempt to steal second. So a good play by Stroman. Finish off that inning.
1-1. Fouled it back by Dyson. Going to be a little bit frustrating for Stroman to pitch as well as he has, but to find the game tied here in the 8th inning.
Especially as much offense as the Blue Jays have gotten recently. They've managed just 2 runs on 5 hits tonight.
Big crowd trying to help him out. Well, he located that cutter pretty well, but could not get Dyson to swing at it.
He had him set up for it too. And you see a reaction from Dyson on that ball. It surprised him.
Mixed in a slower curveball on that pitch. 2-2. The count remains on Jarrod Dyson. The infielders really spread out around the infield. Dyson can use the whole field. He's got great speed. Outfielders playing him way to the opposite field. Got him. Number 6 on the night for Stroman. Unhappy, as you can see, after giving up the home run to Eibner that has tied the game. The Royals have battled back. 2-2 going to the bottom of the 8th. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie Campbell and Greg Zaun from the Samsung broadcast studio.
Deserves to be there as the final man, but he needs your vote. You can send Saunders by voting #CaptainCanada. Vote BlueJays.com/vote or text A4 to 10-10-10. I spoke with Saunders before the game. I said, how do you feel to be Michael Saunders these last 24 hours? Guys, he says, I simply feel loved.
And very busy. A lot of interviews for Michael Saunders. Everybody wanting some comments on what this means to him. He is, as we mentioned earlier, he's honored to even be considered, he says, for a spot on the All-Star team. If he does go to San Diego, he'll be sharing a clubhouse with Kelvin Herrera, who was named an All-Star for the 2nd year in a row. And look at those numbers. You can understand why.
Did not pitch in the game last year. He 1-1 with a 140 earned run average. Has not pitched since last Thursday. He leads the major leagues in holds with 21. He's a strikeout pitcher. He's got a fantastic arm. And he will deal with the top of the lineup for the Blue Jays.
Carrera, Donaldson, and Encarnacion. A tie game here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Carrera with an RBI single his last time up. Meanwhile, in the Blue Jays bullpen, Roberto Osuna is up. And this is interesting. The pitch count is very low for Marcus Stroman. Will they go to Osuna only in a save situation? Will they go even in a tie game? I don't believe that we have seen handshakes and pats on the back for Stroman. So I think this is an if at this point as opposed to a definite when.
The big guns are going to be coming out of the bullpen now for both of these teams. Each manager wanting to win this game. We've seen Hochevar. Now we see Herrera. There's Joaquin Soria still at the back end for Kansas City.
And top of the order up for the Blue Jays here in the bottom of the 8th. Top of the order coming up for the Royals in the top of the 9th. Breaking ball in there for strike 3 called.
So it makes him so tough. Breaking ball, you can't give up on it. Herrera has allowed only 1 run in his last 10 outings. You can see you've got Carrera shaking his head.
Here's Donaldson. Big swing and a miss at a 99-mile-an-hour fastball.
Donaldson's 0 for 4 against Herrera. And he's got that fastball he can run upstairs. It's a tough pitch to catch up to.
And then the 84-mile-an-hour breaking ball.
Blue Jays have struck out 14 times tonight. And that's been a familiar theme. It's really interesting. As well as they have hit the ball and scored a lot of runs lately, they've also struck out a lot.
Well, they got Carrasco the other day, struck him out 14-0 by himself, right? They had a lot of strikeouts in that Cleveland series.
Lost the first 2, won the last 2. They've won the first 2 of this series against the Royals. But after leading 2-0, Kansas City with a run of the 6th, the run of the 8th, and now it's all tied up at 2. And a swing and a miss and a slider in the dirt for out number 2. Well, the strikeouts began with Ian Kennedy tonight. 10 strikeouts in 6 innings of work.
Gave up the 2 earned runs, just 1 walk. There are the 10 punch outs. That's the good news, where you strike out 10. It just makes that pitch count go up that much quicker. Ned Yost tonight could only get 6 innings out of Ian, but had a good 4-seam fastball working tonight. Kansas City Royals have struck out the side twice already tonight. First inning by by Kennedy. Hochevar did it last inning. Herrera's 1 strikeout away from doing it for the 3rd time.
Balls behind Encarnacion, 2 balls and no strikes. Encarnacion and Salvador Perez, 2 likable guys having a pretty likable conversation, it looks like, at the plate.
Totally different personalities. Perez loves to engage in conversation, and Encarnacion, very quiet guy.
All business, huh?
Down low, ball 3. You turn him loose.
Absolutely.
Got it right.
Yeah. Tie game with the best RBI guy in the business.
Takes a strike right at the bottom end of the zone.
Herrera pitched in 5 games in the ALCS against the Blue Jays, a total of 5 2/3 innings. He allowed just 3 hits and struck out 10. They didn't walk a batter in that ALCS. He was tough.
Fair ball into the left field corner. Encarnacion is on his way to second base. And in there ahead of the throw with a 2-out double.
Well, Edwin knew he had to bust it out of the box because Alex Gordon is playing in left field.
Drive of the Game is brought to you by All New Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Michael Saunders trying to get into the All-Star game for the first time. Well, this could help right here. He belts his 16th home run of the season in the 4th inning off of tonight's starter Ian Kennedy. Michael Saunders with this rainbow into the seats is tonight's drive of the game. Now he's got a chance to win it. Put him ahead.
If I were Saunders, I would look for a first pitch breaking ball and make sure it's out over the plate. He's got that great fastball, and the book on Saunders is elevate the fastball and crowd him inside. But Herrera, with a runner in scoring position, might throw him a first pitch breaking ball, but Mike has got to make sure it's out over the plate and not inside.
We also have got first base open. There's an off-speed pitch. Looked like the changeup. You got first base open and a right-handed batter on deck.
And yeah, it was 90, but yeah, that's his changeup. Fastball's at 99, changeup high 80s or 90, and the slider in the mid 80s. Threw him another one. A changeup at 87, and he missed outside, ball 2. Just working around him here with the base open to get to Martin.
Would make sense.
Lefty's hitting .235 this year off Herrera. Righty's hitting .141. Fastball line into center, a base hit. Dyson charging. Encarnacion on his way home and will score the go-ahead run.
The hit by Encarnacion was the first hit that Herrera had given up to a right-handed batter since June the 6th. Edwin gets himself into scoring position with 2 outs, and Michael Saunders, the hero tonight, trying to get into that All-Star game, is going to plate him with this solid single. Off on the pitch, off on the swing, he will score as that throw is way offline by Dyson. And Marcus Stroman is hoping that they score. Now that puts him in position to win the ball game.
What a clutch hit for Michael Saunders against one of the very best in the business.
2 RBIs tonight gets him to 40 for the season. Another big at bat for Michael Saunders, and Encarnacion, he's out of gas.
Here's Martin. That's a fair ball, and that will cash in another run. Head first slide into second, an RBI double for Martin, and it's 4-2.
Russell has been swinging a hot bat, and he's been coming up with some big base hits for the Blue Jays, and this is another big one. He is able to keep this ball fair down the right field line between Hosmer and the bag. That will score a run, and then how about the hustle? He's thinking 2 in the dive. Look at Russell saying, I want this double. Aggressively at the second base with an RBI double.
Big crowd, lively crowd.
Last time they saw Kansas City was the ALCS.
Just the second time this year Herrera's given up 2 runs in an outing. It happened against the Yankees back on May the 10th. 4-2 Blue Jays. Here's Tulowitzki.
Kansas City just 5-15 in their last 20 road games. The road has been a challenge for them.
Two. Osuna still standing on the bullpen mound. Stroman has gone the first 8. Tulowitzki strikes out to end the inning. But a very productive inning. 3 consecutive 2-out hits from Encarnacion, Saunders, and Martin. The latter 2 driving in runs and heading to the 9th. The Blue Jays are up 4-2, and they are 3 outs away from a sweep of the Kansas City Royals.
VIP Blue Jays experiences like alumni meet and greets, seat upgrades, offers, and more with Game Plus, part of the MLB.com ballpark app. Learn more at BlueJays.com/Game Plus. We head to the top of the ninth. This is now a Blue Jays victory possible. Let's get you back to Dan, Buck, and Pat.
Michael Saunders a big part of it, Barry. He homered back in the fourth and had the go-ahead RBI single in the eighth, scored the extra run, 4-2 Jays going to the ninth, and it's the closer, Roberto Osuna.
16 for 18 in save opportunities this year, and now standing earned run average of 239. He's only given up one earned run in those 18 save opportunities. Just 8 base on balls all season long.
Justin Smoke in at first for Edwin Encarnacion. And it's the top of the order for the Royals: Gordon, Merrifield, and Hosmer. What we don't know is whether Kendrys Morales is available to pinch hit if they wanted to at any point. He did not start the game with some back discomfort. Been about as hot a hitter as there's been in baseball in recent weeks. Osuna falls behind 2 balls, no strikes.
The only spot you might use him would be in the 5th spot. Get a man on, maybe in the 2nd spot if Gordon gets on, maybe pinch hit for Merrifield.
Maybe down in the 6th spot if it got as far as Orlando.
They're working with a small bench too.
Yeah.
Kansas City Royals. There's only 3 players on that bench. One of them is a backup catcher. Not a lot of maneuverability for Ned Yost.
Swing and a miss, 2-2. Osuna 16 for 18 in save situations on the season.
Picked up a save on Saturday against Cleveland.
Popped him up near third base. A play for Donaldson. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here are Brendan Dunlop and Eric Thomas. All right, guys, thank you. Looking forward to that. The Blue Jays hoping to get it to you soon if Osuna can finish it off in the next couple of batters. When Merrifield takes high ball 1. This would be a 5-game winning streak for the Jays. They would reach 9 games over 500. They have not reached that point yet this season. And with the Orioles having won already, the Red Sox up big. Need a win to keep pace with the 2 other contenders in the American League East.
5 games would be their longest win streak of the season. But the momentum going into the All-Star break is huge.
The momentum at home. Got a lot of home games this month, so a chance to make a move.
Big night for Saunders. Big night for Stroman. Big hit by Martin to add on a run. 2-2. And the Tigers are coming in for 4 games starting tomorrow night to take the Blue Jays into the All-Star break. Stroman 8 outstanding innings tonight. He can win it if Osuna can get it done here in the ninth. Tulowitzki, tough hop, flip throw in time. That's pretty.
What a job by Tulowitzki. He backhanded it. He doesn't like to do that very often, but the way he went at it, he really smothered it and went right through the baseball. Watch how he stays on this ball to the backhand side and scoops it and then fires it. Nobody does it better throwing on the run than Troy Tulowitzki.
And they're an out away from a sweep. The batter is Eric Hosmer. Past a diving Smoke into right field. That's a base hit. Hosmer a long single, and the Royals will bring the tying run to the plate.
Never say die, Royals. They look like they were dead against Houston last year in the playoffs. They came back to win that one. 2 outs now. Hosmer free swinging just out of the reach of Smoke. And they keep it going here with 2 outs.
And a guy with some power at the plate in Salvador Perez, a dozen home runs on the season. Slider for a strike. Calm on the outside, no doubt churning on the inside. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
That's where you want to throw that fastball right there on Perez. Keep it inside like that so he can't extend.
Got it. Roberto Osuna with his 17th save of the season, and the Blue Jays have just swept the Kansas City Royals.
Well, for me, the biggest news of the night was the fact that Marcus Stroman has had back-to-back outstanding starts. He was perfect through 5 innings. He gave up a home run late to tie it up. The offense showed up late, but for me, Marcus Stroman in his final start of the first half really punctuated all that great work he's put in.
Great movement on his sinker and on his slider. He kept the ball down. He gave up the home run late, but the offense cashed in a couple of runs late for him. Michael Saunders with the home run and the big 2-out base hit for the Blue Jays as they now gain momentum heading into this last series before the All-Star break.
It's a 5-game winning streak. The Tigers are next, starting tomorrow night. The Blue Jays sweep the Royals, winning the finale here tonight by a score of 4-2. Time now to send you back to the studio. Sportsnet Central coming your way with Brendan and Eric.